All right, everybody, put your hands together out there. Woo!
Not anyone can stand in your corner, nor do you even need to let them in. Call if you need him, he will be there just as fast as he can. You can call anytime. Give him a minute, hold the line. He will be there when you need him. But you can depend on him. You can depend on him, yeah. You can depend on him. Just as sure as I sit here, I can tell you that Jesus cares. Keep the Lord closer, keep the rest from coming over. You can trust him, he'll give you the truth. Just read the Bible and all to do, 'cause he is faithful. The cross is proof, but you can depend on Jesus. You can depend on him. Whatever you need, whenever you want, he will be there. Keep your heart wide open. He is the Lord, and will hold you out. And you can depend on him. Yeah, you can depend on him. You can depend on Jesus anytime you call. You can depend on him. You can call anytime. Give him a minute. Just hold the line. He will be there when you need him. Just call him and he'll be right there. You can call him anytime you need a friend to talk to. You can call him when you need somebody to let him in. Give him a minute. He's on the other line. Don't be surprised by the Lord. He'll be by your side. Better believe that if you need him, you can call him. Keep your heart wide open. He is the Lord and will hold you up. Yeah. You can depend on Jesus. You can depend on him. If you believe you can move the mountain, he'll give you strength. If you ask the Lord, he'll be right there beside you. And he'll walk with you, and he'll talk with you, and he'll hold you when you're hurting inside. Jesus calling, he's right there beside you. You can depend on him.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod. felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that the tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past him now we stand at last, where the bright gleams of our bright stars is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget Thee, shadow beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our God, true to our native land. Amen.
Hello, my name's Kathleen Wilcox. I am the Executive Director for African Americans Reach and Teach Health, ARTH for short. ARTH was founded 20 years ago to address inequities and combat stigma by providing education about HIV and AIDS and its impact within the African diaspora. Now, 20 years later, ARTH has expanded to meet the expanding needs of Black communities. Today, ARTH creates and sustains partnerships to promote healthy outcomes. We educate and empower healthcare professionals, communities, and individuals to eliminate health disparities and achieve health equity. We work to advance racial equity and social justice, and we respond with efficiency and timeliness to healthcare crises that impact our communities and those around us. Today, we are uniquely positioned to do the work that we do because of the relationships we have with individuals, other community-facing organizations, Afrocentric faith houses, governmental agencies, healthcare professionals, and the institutions within which they work. We offer relevant training curricula and provide delivery of educational opportunities ranging from one-on-one trainings to multi-state level conferences through a lens of equity and social justice, and related specifically to chronic illnesses that negatively impact Black communities, such as HIV/AIDS, hypertension, diabetes, mental and behavioral health, Alzheimer's disease, kidney disease, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and sickle cell anemia, to name a few. So if you or someone you know is interested in learning more about ARTH or are interested in attending one of our many workshops, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our phone number is 206-850-2070, or you can go to our website. The URL is www.aarth.org. That's www.arth.org. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Many years ago, I decided once I had kids, I didn't want to spend so many hours in the salon. I would spend maybe 5 or 6 hours every other week on a Saturday. I loved it from that point of view of being young and free and being able to spend the whole day somewhere, but I wanted more freedom in that space where I could wear my hair naturally curly. Not that I didn't love it, but I wanted to figure out something a little bit different where I could spend time with my newborn son, but I didn't have that type of hair where I could just put one little product in it and then it would be perfect, and I couldn't figure it out. I was on vacation in my hometown of Los Angeles, California, and I decided to look for a stylist there. And I found a stylist who was certified in various curly techniques, and she knew how to do curly hair. So I reached out to her and said, I'd love to come. And the first time she cut my hair, it was like my aha moment. It was so amazing where I realized that I could actually wear my hair curly. She did my hair in a way where she taught me a few techniques while I was at the salon that really sparked this idea that I could actually do it. I could wear my hair curly all the time, and I wouldn't look crazy, that I could go out there and really just have fun with my hair and feel free and be expressive and be myself. I think everybody needs that aha moment. What is an aha moment for you? How do you figure out how to do your own hair? It's generally not something that we were taught. You're taught to straighten your hair, that it looks better that way. It's more professional to wear your hair straight. And I think this is a place where you can actually grow and become someone who is comfortable with wearing their hair curly, and you know how to maintain it. The world of curly hair is so vast. There's so many people with so many different backgrounds, and we want to figure out how do we have curly and wavy hair that's protected and that fits your lifestyle. So your hair could range from just slight bends with a little bit of curl that needs maybe a little bit of moisture to very thick, dense, curly hair that you might need a lot of moisture and a lot of product. Or you have thick and dense hair that you need a little bit of product. It really depends on what's going on with you, how your hair is being styled, and what is the next step in that process. And the goal of Curly Sister is to help you understand that and to understand your hair so that you can maintain your hair throughout that process without having to do things that you may not want to do.
Suicide is the second leading cause of death among 10 to 24-year-olds.
Suicide is preventable.
It's something you can and should talk about.
Know that mental issues are real and anyone, including me, can experience it.
Know that sometimes you may be the reason for some of my anxieties, and I need to talk to someone else.
My mental health does not define who I am, just what I'm going through.
Mom, just because you have your own way to deal with issues doesn't mean it works for me.
Dad, just because I look happy doesn't mean I am.
I'm not choosing to struggle, and I'm not making this up just to hurt you.
Please understand that taking a break from school, sports, or homework won't ruin my future. I just need a mental break.
Notice when I'm starting to care less, because that's usually the start of my downhill spiral.
Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is give me space.
I want to know you take my issues seriously. Listen to me, and tell me I hear you.
Dad, sometimes all I need to hear is just, hey, I love you, and I'm here for you if you need me.
It can be hard for parents to start conversations with their teens about mental health or substance use, but the more that we make these conversations part of our everyday lives, the easier they become over time. One conversation can make a huge difference in changing the trajectory of a teen's development. Here are a few tips to help set up a good conversation with your child. Check in with your teen and let them know what you've noticed. Perhaps you could say, anxiety really seems to be getting a hold of you recently. What's been going on? Sometimes parents have an inclination to view their child as the problem as opposed to viewing the problem as the problem. So perhaps saying something like, I've noticed that anxiety seems to be hitting hard these days. How can you and I work together to try to address some of those anxious thoughts? I encourage parents to put a time limit on the conversations they have with their children. For instance, you could walk in their room and say, I'd like to talk to you for 5 minutes, and I promise when this 5-minute timer goes off, I will walk out of here. It can be helpful to have conversations when you're side by side because sometimes the eye contact of a conversation face-to-face can be challenging. So I encourage parents to perhaps start a conversation while you're both in the kitchen or perhaps out walking or maybe in the car. It's important that children have a variety of adults to connect with. Surrounding your children with other caring adults who may be able to send some of the messages that your child might not want to hear from you can be a really valuable way. It's really important that parents are modeling every day how they take care of their own well-being. So noticing how you spend your time, who you spend your time with, how you nourish yourself, how much exercise you're getting, and even just saying simple things like, I thought about staying late at work today, but I realized I really need to get to the gym tonight, and so I decided to leave and take care of myself. I think just opening the conversation might be such a source of relief for your child. It's really important. It can make a huge difference in their lives.
and I lost my mind. I felt so lost and lonely, but I figured out this time that I had to hold on and wait for a new day that would bring me up and out until I found my way back home. I can't believe that I'm moving on. I'm strong enough, it's my turn to shine. had to grow and take hold of my life and stop blaming circumstance. I've come too far in this race to turn around again. I'm moving on. I'm stronger now. It's my turn to shine. I've come this far, no turning back. After all that I've been through, look at me now. I'm a winner. I found my pot of gold. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Believe me when I say, one day I finally realized that things have got to change. I spent too much time thinking about how to ease the pain. Then I said, dear Lord, help me to hold out through this misery. And then I cried just one last time and I started to believe. I'm moving on. I'm stronger now. It's my turn to shine. I've come this far, no turning back. After all that I've been through, look at me now. I'm a winner. I found my pot of gold. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Believe me when I say, yes, I've been through the fire and I've been through the pain. I've been so lost and lonely and I've been so afraid. Till I got on my feet and turned up the heat on all of my negative memories. And I started feeling better once I looked to the sky and held my head up high. I felt on top of the world and that's a feeling that no one could ever express. I'm doing my best to take hold of the rest of this life one day at a time. I'm strong. It's my turn to shine. No turning back. After all that I've been through, look at me now. I'm a winner. I found my pot of gold. My pot is gold. Stop me now. Believe me when I say, I'm moving on. I'm strong. It's my turn to shine. No turning back. After all that I've been through, look at me now. I'm a winner. I found my pot of gold. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Believe me when I say,
One of the first things you do when you open a yoga practice is you get the class centered, right? And get them familiar with the surroundings, the noises, the construction sounds, the sound of the police announcing something is all part of the space, right? He doesn't have to be quiet. It doesn't have to be a perfect stillness. That just belongs there, just like your breath does, right?
Every day is a day stepping in that right direction, becoming more aware of who I am and the trauma and the systemic oppression that I went through for the last 14 years and how to shed that off and be able to say, I have a practice I can turn to and I have a community and not a system to hold me still. I have a community that'll say, hey, come do this, come record, come do sound bowls. And so it's happening.
I think the biggest thing is sitting with yourself. I think that's the hardest for anybody. A lot of times people don't know what self is. Because when I was in juvenile detention and then got transferred to an adult facility, you're constantly always with somebody, never with yourself. If I didn't have yoga, didn't have my practice in that space to be myself, I could see where a lot of other folks that I know are back down a lifestyle because they don't know how to be by themselves. They want to be in the mix and they want to do this, they want to do that, and not know what fulfills them.
It was the humaneness. It was the escape from the bars. It was the escape from being locked behind the doors. When things are quiet at 12 o'clock at night and the thoughts are going through your head and the tears are coming out of your eyes. You know, how do you calm them down? How do you still those rougher waters? And then, after you know it, how do you become the pebble in the pond to create the ripple?
At the time where yoga found me, I was extremely fractured and didn't have that sense of self, didn't understand my purpose, didn't understand my worth. And so I'm like I'm reaching for anything that was gonna anchor me because I was spiraling. I remember going to the class and leaving, that fractured feeling, it sort of dissipated as I breathed and moved and slowed down and felt into my body.
It's a slow unfolding, right? You know, just like a lotus. When you have great teachers that come in and pass something along to you so well, like staff did at YBB, then you have that firm grounding in that foundation, right, to blossom.
My friend made this shirt for me when I first got out, but it's like, be loud, be bold, and be free. And that's really what yoga has been for me.
If we spend what, $110,000 a year to keep a juvenile locked up? You know what I mean? I tell you what, you give me $110,000 a year in a juvenile, and I guarantee you he ain't going to juvenile detention. He'd be going to Yale or Boston College or somewhere else, or HBCU, but he's definitely not going to prison.
The work we do does have that ripple effect. It started in a pond, and what we want for the individual raindrop, we want for the entire ocean. We want this in communities, we want this in the system, we want it for people coming out of the system, any of these pipelines that shuffle us through.
Alzheimer's, dementia, one and the same? No, not really. Good morning. I am Mrs. Schmidt, a volunteer here in Washington State with the local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And today I want to inspire your holistic wellness by discussing the importance of brain health and very briefly inform you about Alzheimer's disease, which is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States and the 3rd leading cause of death in King County. And it is a disease that is negatively impacting our community. Before I began volunteering, I would have said that Alzheimer's and dementia were interchangeable, and that both were just part of the normal aging process. Incorrect on both fronts. So, in this brief time we have together, I want to spark your interest in brain health as you build your next steps around holistic wellness. A healthy brain is key to slowing down the decline often associated with the changes in our body and brain as we age. It is never too early nor too late to think about ways to build your brain health. Building social connections, staying active, managing stress, eating a brain healthy diet, getting quality sleep, and finding meaning and purpose are all good ways to promote your brain health. And these habits will help you in your journey to holistic wellness, where you walk in wholeness, not just the absence of illness and disease, though that's part of it. It's all about the whole you, physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. There are some common issues around aging, particularly in our community. Unfortunately, research shows that African Americans are less likely to receive a diagnosis, yet we are 2 to 3 times more likely to have Alzheimer's disease than the non-Hispanic white population. We are also more likely to be misdiagnosed or diagnosed in the later stages of the disease. So as a community, we need to educate each other on the disease, as well as advocate for resources targeted to Alzheimer's and our community. It's a disease that affects the whole family and more broadly, the whole community. Dementia is a general term referring to a loss of cognitive function that is severe enough to interfere with everyday life. Challenges with remembering, thinking, and reasoning are all commonly experienced by someone who has a form of dementia. Dementia is not a specific disease, but it is a term that references a group of symptoms that cause the impairment of at least two brain functions. It is not normal aging, and it is caused by damage to the brain from disease or trauma. Alzheimer's, on the other hand, is an actual disease, and it is one of the many different illnesses that can cause the symptoms of dementia. It is also the most common cause of dementia. Here's a way to think about it. Alzheimer's is to dementia as beagles are to dogs. There is the broad category of dogs in which they all share some common characteristics, but then there are different breeds within it that allows us to distinguish one dog from another. Dementia is similar. There are different types of dementia, each caused by different things. And it's known that the Alzheimer's type of dementia is caused by Alzheimer's disease. As our population ages, being equipped to recognize the signs of Alzheimer's helps to eliminate the stigma associated with the disease, and likely will empower us with the necessary knowledge to take action. If you look at the screen, here are 10 known signs of Alzheimer's. It helps to know these early warning signs. They're from the Alzheimer's Association website. The Alzheimer's Association is a firm believer that early detection matters. Now, I know it's probably hard to see all 10 of these, and I won't use our time this morning to go through each one. I encourage you to scan the QR code that's shown on the screen, and there it'll take you to the Alzheimer's website, where you can read about these 10 signs, as well as how they compare with healthy aging, or what we would term normal aging, and what the differences are. The Alzheimer's Association offers additional resources like free community education programs, support groups, and they even have a database that can help find aging and dementia-related resources in your local area. As a community, I encourage us to link arms together to support our loved ones, family, and friends in receiving the support they need. We face many major health issues and their exaggerated impact on the elderly in our community. It's never been more necessary to forge partnerships, much like the City of Bellevue and the Bellevue Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and what they've done by providing this annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. virtual health fair. It's here we can address common issues and educate ourselves. The legacy truly lives on. Thank you, City of Bellevue and Bellevue Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Let it be well with you.
Live. This land of liberty where freedom seems far to most like us. When can I eat the fresh fruit I have labored to harvest for centuries? I am the dream. and I will fully inhabit the land of freedom while I am here. I will no longer eat in the kitchen when company comes. My glow will be broadcast on every station so we can all see the sun in us, reflect his light, and spark freedom fire. Hope we all burn up in the fire of love. Let's give of ourselves, even when it seems we have nothing left. Let's link arms, heal, and destroy hate. Let's transform Lady Liberty into the land she promised to be. Like Martin dreamed, believe, and it will manifest. For we too are America.
Hi, my name is Maggie Fu, and I work at the Food and Drug Administration, or otherwise known as the FDA. Many of you have heard of the FDA throughout the years, especially during the pandemic, I'm sure. Every day, Americans are able to trust the meals that they eat and the drugs that they take thanks to the FDA. Since the Pure Food and Drugs Act that was passed by Congress in 1906, FDA has been working hard to achieve its goal to promote and protect public health, and that means your health. At the FDA, we regulate food, drugs, medical devices, biologics, cosmetics, and tobacco products. The laws and regulations that are put in place are meant to protect you as the consumer. We have resources and staff across the nation ready to answer your questions on a range of topics, whether it be food safety or medications for your children, how to use contact lenses safely, or things to know about breast implants. You can come to us for any of these topics. We have many resources in different languages. Please remember that we are here to protect and promote your health and the health of this nation's diverse populations, and we are here to address health disparities. The FDA's vision is to create a world where health equity is a reality for all. Thank you.
You, me, everyone, every youth has felt left out. And the truth is, some of us are treated less because of our race, class, religion, gender, or even our sexual orientation. We are left alone in the dark. In the dark. But because of YES, I have a safe space. I have a safe space where I can learn about my culture, learn to become a leader, and grow. Where I can get a helping hand. I believe that all youth should have access to that safe space that I hold near and dear in my heart. YES is my safe space.
For the East Side, I think that people are under the assumption that it's very white, affluent, but that's been not my experience in working in the mental health field. We draw from a lot of different populations, a lot of different communities here on the East Side.
A lot of the youth that I work with tell me that they're concerned with how they identify, either not being black enough, not being white enough, if they're biracial students.
I have the privilege and honor to serve the Latino community.
The more traditional Chinese culture, a lot of people actually don't know what mental health is, and that really prevents people from getting help.
In the queer community, there's a lot of people that are getting bullied. I've known people that have come into group that have had death threats in their lockers.
The struggles manifest in self-harm. They manifest in experimenting with substances. They manifest in using violence to resolve problems.
Their psychological effects can have like long-lasting ripple effects into other aspects of their life.
When the parents do not understand that their kids is struggling, they may not help to connect the kids to services. We are in this together, and YES are here to support them.
Youth Eastside Services, also known as YES, is a youth and family organization, a mental health organization that not only is providing clinical-based services in the schools, in the community, at our local sites, but it's also engaged in prevention and education work.
So for us to create kind of a safe environment for people to be who they are and to find peers and social connections is kind of our main focus.
At Youth Eastside Services, we believe that diversity, inclusion, and equity is an important piece in our work.
I think it helps with students to see someone like myself that can reflect, what they're saying, that can validate the things that they're concerned about.
Just having one supportive person in your life really reduces things like suicidality and self-harm.
I've seen youth come in who are using drugs, who are depressed, who are anxious, who are thinking that they don't have a friend in the world, and who are doubting themselves. And 2 years later, I see them leading group. I see them helping other youth. I see them applying to college.
I've seen families improve on their overall family functioning, communication, as well as mental health.
It is important to support YES because the work matters.
And supporting us will enable us to continue helping to build a more healthy community on the East Side.
And when that happens, then we're all deciding to support the community and youth. That gives me hope. And that's what we want to create.
When life outside gets difficult, I know me and my friends will always have a safe space within YES to feel more connected and valued. Everyone at YES plays a part in protecting us all and making the best out of us. I am truly grateful for everyone at Youth Eastside Services. I hope you'll reach out your hand to someone like me and give all youth a space to feel safe.
Show me your face, fill up this space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. I can't escape being afraid. Fill me with you right now. Our world needs you right now. Show me your face, fill up this space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. I can't escape being afraid. Fill me with you right now. My world powerful down, bring with it a sound that points us to you right now. Erase substitutes right now. Fix what I see, and God, please fix me. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. Every heart in the world, God needs you to rescue. Storms have come and Show me your face. Fill up the space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. Storms have come, but when we call your name, all things change. Kingdoms fall, but things forever reigns is your name. Jesus, Jesus, that's where the power is. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Storm may come, but when we call your name, all things change. Kingdoms fall, but things forever reign in your name. Anchor, the anchor that holds me in my pain. Stay the same. Oh, how sweet! Oh, how sweet to know that your great name will never change. Somebody call Jesus. Holy name, Jesus. Only thing authority. There's power in the name of Jesus. That's why we call His name. Jesus, how excellent is Thy name. Jesus, hallelujah. Fill up this space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you.
Thank you so much. I totally agree that listening to the youth's voice and comprehending their voice is really important. So tonight we have a youth panel from youth from Eastside Youth Coalition and also YouthLink. So please welcome them, and I'll pass it on to Aya.
Hi, my name is Aya Milion. I'm a senior at Interlake High School, and I do full-time Running Start at Bellevue College. I'm co-president of Eastside Youth Coalition, co-president of BSU at Interlake High School, and co-founder of Eastside Black Girls for Change.
Hello, my name is Amira, and I'm a senior at Sammamish High School. I'm also part of the leadership team of Eastside Youth Coalition, president of BSU at Sammamish, as well as a co-founder of Eastside Black Girls for Change.
Hello, my name is Ibrahim Abdi. I'm a senior at Kentwood High School, and I'm on the leadership team for Eastside Youth Coalition.
Hello, I'm Rania Tuku, and I'm a senior at Issaquah High School, and I do full-time running start at Bellevue College. I'm co-president at Eastside Youth Coalition, and I co-founded Eastside Black Girls for Change.
Hello everyone, my name is Adam Roble. I'm a junior at Interlake High School. I am a part of Eastside Youth Coalition's leadership team, as well as co-president of Interlake's Black Student Union and youth ambassador to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Hello everybody, my name is Grace. I am a sophomore at Interlake High School and the co-vice president for Bellevue Youth Council's team. I'm also part of Interlake High School's ASB and work at a company called March On, an organization focused on fiscal sponsorship for grassroots groups and BIPOC groups.
My name is Liam Kroll. I'm a sophomore at Interlake High School, where I am on Interlake's Associate Student Body Student Government. Outside of school, I'm the co-vice president for Bellevue Youth Link's Executive Council, and as well, I'm the founder of the Forgotten Europe Project, a project dedicated to promoting cultural, ethnic, and diversity within school curriculums.
Hello everyone, my name is Meher Grayball and I am currently in 10th grade at Interlake High School, and I am a member of the Bellevue Youth Link board, and I am also the founder and director of Worth a Shot, which is a global nonprofit organization dedicated to bettering the health of our community as well as providing greater access to healthcare amenities on a global scale. Thank you.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. started his civil rights journey at the young age of 15 years old. He was accepted into Morehouse College the same year he graduated from Booker T. Washington High School. At the age of 19, he graduated with a BA in sociology, and at 26, he received his PhD from Boston University. Dr. King was not only an activist, but he was also a Black scholar. Dr. King began his journey with education, utilizing his student voice, high school, and college studies. Everything that Dr. King represented is equally, if not more relevant in 2022 and forward, as we as a nation watch the reversal of human rights and the overwhelming significant rise of white supremacy. As youth leaders, just as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did decades ago, will lead the way. Our collective cries for social justice, community service, and fight for racial equity will be seen and heard. We will change the world as beautiful reflections of Dr. King's legacy. We are the future leaders. Following the path Dr. King paved for us, how can we as youth activists continue his legacy around issues we face today?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think health equity and bridging disparities in healthcare is such a great and relevant issue that was really brought to light by the COVID pandemic. And I think that the pandemic really exposed a lot of the inequities in our society and really exposed us to the fact that there are so many communities, especially immigrant and refugee communities, who experience so many barriers to receiving health care. And a big one of these, I think, is the language barrier, not being able to speak English. And I think that here in Bellevue, we have such a diverse community. We love to say our diversity is our strength, and we welcome the world. We have people here from hundreds of countries around the world, and I think that really celebrating and acknowledging that really follows in direct line of the philosophy of Dr. King. And inspired by this, when the COVID pandemic first hit, and I noticed in my society and in my community how many barriers there were to receiving health care and how that might impact our response as a public to the pandemic, the public health response, and how that would integrate with issues like vaccine hesitancy.
As you said, with how diverse Bellevue is, I really feel like there should be that this like services provided in healthcare and so many other systems should be reflective of the diverse community we have here. Whether that's understanding cultural services or the needs of marginalized groups, that should definitely be reflected across the board when it comes to healthcare.
I agree with you too. COVID did expose a lot of issues, specifically health literacy, which is the ability to obtain, read, and understand information pertaining to health. And that's a big issue because how can you make decisions in your own health if you don't understand. In Kent, it's really, really diverse, and there are a lot of translators, but it's not adequate. There was one time where I did have to translate for my own grandmother, and I'm not the best at speaking Somali, so it was really rough, and I don't think I gave her the best translation, which is really important that we have people that can do this kind of stuff, and that's why it's important to hire a staff that's really diverse.
Yeah, I've had numerous experiences like that in my life where I've had to also help out my grandma too, who she only speaks Amharic. So whenever my parents aren't around to go and help her out with getting her own medicine and things like that, I'm the one who has to go and do things like that for her. And I've just had tons of experiences where I haven't been able to properly translate what her needs are to medical or healthcare providers and properly get her needs met for her. So it just makes it a really just rough time for everybody, honestly, but also more so people who don't have the ability to speak English. So yeah, making those, resources more accessible to them in ways that they can understand is super important.
I feel also like not just that topic of like health literacy, and those are kind of issues that we see or that were like was enlightened during COVID, but also just the different treatment that people experience. Not being able to speak or understand what the doctor's saying, not only does that affect kind of like how you get your treatment, but there's a lot of other factors that play into it, especially like racial bias. And I think it's important that we recognize that and then find ways to combat that, and obviously increase youth voice and action onto that.
And stemming off from that are really issues such as knowledge, attitudes, and perception towards developments in healthcare. So a huge example is the COVID vaccines and the campaign to raise awareness about these vaccines. And what I saw was that this was really not there were so many great public health efforts made to reach out to the community, but a lot of this wasn't really effectively reaching all the diverse communities we have here in Bellevue. So I think that it's really important to appreciate and respect that diversity. And the other thing is that when we have people who are not able to effectively grasp this information, and especially in the face of public health threats like COVID-19, we're not able to effectively mount as great of a response to the pandemic as we could have and to other public health threats. So it's really important, therefore, that we have everybody on board, that we include everybody, because these public health challenges affect everyone in our community, and none of us are safe until all of us are safe.
Connecting back to this idea of the importance of youth when discussing this topic of diversity, and coming from the whole East Side community in general, diversity is our strength. And the whole world, as humans, we are diverse. There's no homogeneous part to it. We are diverse. And it is important to establish a system that recognizes that diversity because, as stated before, diversity is our strength. If we can't come together as humans, then there can't be any progress. We need to recognize and we need to include everyone. And we need to include, for example, transparency in the healthcare program, as stated earlier, transparency between patients, transparency between individuals, limiting language barriers, and hopefully growing diversity within our community. And that connects to the world as a whole, as we as youth leaders now become the future generations.
Conversations about, racial bias in healthcare and diversity, I really think this connects to racial trauma. To preface, racial trauma is just the collective effect racism has on people's mental and physical health. I feel like that's an issue that's not talked about as much, and it's just super damaging. I feel like from personal experience, just in the schooling system, there's a lot of times where you face discrimination or racism, and not only do you have to process and digest how that impacted you, you have to address it and explain why that's not right. And I feel like a lot of times I knew something was wrong when it came to the topic of race and racism, but I didn't know how to eloquently address that issue. I didn't know how to properly explain that that's not right. And I feel like that's the issue that is really common for a lot of people of color, and that really just needs to be talked about.
And I agree that what we've been talking about, diversity and healthcare disparities, these go hand in hand. But I also think that following with the vision of Dr. King, his vision didn't apply to just any one community, to just any one place. This is truly a global vision. And so we can really carry that vision forward by reaching out to youth, not just in our community, but in the global setting.
I definitely agree with what Mayor is talking about, and also to kind of go back onto what Adam is saying about how in schools it's difficult for sometimes youth to explain or want to show their voice because they don't know how to do it. There's a lot of policies that have been put in place that also make it difficult, and it's important that we address those kind of policies, those kind of blockers that don't allow youth to eloquently share their visions or their experiences. One example specifically being how Bellevue School District's harassment, intimidation, bullying policy doesn't allow for people to share their experiences, specifically in harassment and intimidation, without being, if you explain it anonymously or confidentially, there is no discipline that is taken. And that's an issue that we see is people don't want to speak up because they know that nothing is going to happen. And that kind of fear that people have, the fear of retribution, when you're going public against your abuser, those are kind of issues that we need to face, we need to address, and we need to enact change on in order to increase youth voice.
Another school policy that should be taught in order to build trust in the community is the difference between FERPA and HIPAA. With HIPAA, it's for medical professionals, and that means it's complete confidentiality to that patient and the medical provider, whereas FERPA is used in schools and for school counselors, and it means they can tell your parents. And I think that's a really big thing that everyone should know in order to build trust in that community.
You guys have just said, especially what you just mentioned, Grace, I think that really ties into mental health. So health is all encompassing, and it includes so many aspects: physical, social, and mental health. Mental health is an issue that's really been brought into the spotlight over the last couple years, and I think that the COVID mental health challenges have also been parallel pandemic in effect. So we've seen the effects of the COVID pandemic, but then we've also seen the parallel struggles that youth have faced with their mental health. So some ways that we've been trying to address that. So for instance, we partnered with Youth Eastside Services to have teen cafe groups in the community where youth can have a roundtable discussion about issues that matter to them, and we reach out to a diverse audience. We're working to expand these to schools and in our community, and also by reaching out to these communities, we can address issues like anxiety, peer pressure, and bullying that youth really want to talk about but haven't been provided that platform.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mental health is super important. It's just as important as physical health and your well-being. And I think the pandemic really elevated that feeling of social isolation. And generally, humans are social beings. So being disconnected from human-to-human interaction is really damaging to youth. So I think in regards to mental health, I feel like more conversations need to be had where people are vulnerable and people can be comfortable with being uncomfortable, where people can really share their personal experiences free of judgment.
I also think that when we're thinking about the people that we want to bring in to have these conversations with students, that we're making sure that we're also understanding that they do need to also reflect the community of students that we're offering help to as well, and making sure that we're also reflecting diversity within our staff and faculty that work at schools and just within the community of Bellevue in general, so students' needs are met, and so students are also feeling comfortable speaking to the people that they have to speak to.
Personally, I didn't really have counselors that looked like me, so when talking about experiences regarding race, I didn't feel like there was that really holistic understanding. And so just going to school where there's not too many people that look like me and there's not really counselors that look at me, how was I supposed to address issues regarding race and how I felt regarding racism and discrimination? It felt like my voice was only so much, yet I was so much of a representation of my race regarding conversations about racism.
Yeah, I agree. It's really important to have a diverse counselors, especially for building trust, because it's important for a professional to have cultural empathy and intelligence, because people come from different backgrounds and how like different upbringings, and it's important to understand and know that.
Adding on to what Adam and Ibrahim shared, personally, I feel like when I face any discrimination around school, I feel like I don't have anyone to talk to, and that goes along with like having this thought of like, oh, are they gonna understand what I'm going through? They're not Black, so they won't understand. And I think implementing and making change from the root and adding counselors of color will be a major step, and it will help not only like us, but like every student's mental health.
I think it's important to recognize that for many students, school can be the only support system that students have, that not every student has someone to talk to. And that's where counselors and diverse counselors, like this panel has talked about, become really important, because if a student doesn't have any support outside of school, then they can't get help. And that help is crucial. So counselors need to be able to respect students. They need to be able to sympathize with students and actually help students that way. And that's really important for mental health.
I feel like on the topic of like counselors and it's, you know, with different races, there's tons of different stereotypes. And when you go in and you want to talk about the stereotypes or how you feel about them, it changes. Like if you're talking with someone who doesn't understand those stereotypes, doesn't understand those experiences, you're not able to connect with someone like that. You're not able to share like what are the exact problems that you face. And it's important that we show representation so that we're able to increase kind of like general knowledge about how people feel about certain like races or being representing of your race.
And I think one of the biggest areas in terms of that is to be able to have a safe space and get support as well. So I think that that really ties into what a lot of us said about being able to have a space where we can talk about these issues that affect us.
Absolutely. So Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy of generating strides for equality still stands strong today. He began his activism and community engagement work at a young age, similar to students today like us who fight for unequal opportunities like mental and physical health, as well as school policies such as community enforcement officers and the importance of building trust through an increase in value and youth voices in our districts. It's important to admire the dedication and persistence of students, work to create safe environments for themselves and their peers. Through a rise in diverse counselors, adequate school support, and staff accountability, we can find resolutions to the unequal opportunities we face. Dr. King made many radical changes, and it's our generation's job to carry out his legacy. I just want to say thank you to everyone in this panel who took the time to shine light and offer solutions on crucial topics on health equity, racial bias, school policies, and building trust.
Take my power, then never take. Don't love it, take my